I still think that an MBA has a better chance for only a couple of reasons. Is basically when I said last time that the MBA has the age. I said it because that is one of the reasons why we saw that Maha government, the current Eknath Shinde, Devendra Fadnavis, Ajit Pawar government, started making announcing those schemes which normally BJP wouldn't have announced in any other state. Maha went on an advertising spree across Maharashtra. You take out any digital platform, the newspaper, or on the road. There is a huge portraits, the advertisements with respect to the Ladki Bahin scheme. The Chief Minister, both the Deputy Chief Minister, toured the whole state, telling the benefits of the Ladki Bahin scheme. What it resulted into is that the registration of almost 2.15 crore women for this particular scheme, parties like the VBA or MIM or MNS or Third Front, all these parties are likely to make even if they make a smallest dent in the assembly segment, it is going to impact because it is going to be a very closely fought election. The margins are going to come down drastically. They overcame the difficulties they faced after Lok Sabha elections. The morale of the party workers were down. The RSS got on the road. They started building up, boosting the morale of the party workers. At the same time, the Haryana victory has given them a kind of a hope that yes, things can be turned around. Changed a bit with the voter who was indifferent about the political scenario because they could see that the scheme is attached with Eknath Shinde's name because it is Mukhyamantri Ladki Bahin scheme. But nothing happened as such in Maharashtra which changed the perception about the BJP because BJP faced a major anti-incumbency in Maharashtra during Lok Sabha elections.
Nothing but the truth. Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa of India Today and your host for Nothing But the Truth. Every week, we will deal with key issues of concern and bring you perspectives and clarity as to why these matter to you without holding back on the truth. It's finally D-Day for the crucial Maharashtra Assembly elections. The results of the polls will be out on November 23rd and is certain to have national repercussions. There are two major alliances slugging it out in Maharashtra. Remember, Maharashtra has 288 assembly seats and either alliance requires 145 seats to win a simple majority. The NDA alliance, called the Maha, consists of the BJP, the Shiv Sena Shinde group, and the Nationalist Congress Party Ajit Pawar faction, while the India alliance has grouped under what is called the Maha Vikas Aghadi, or MVA for short, and has the Congress, the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena, and the Sharad Pawar's Nationalist Congress Party. If the Maha wins, it would be a huge boost for the BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the center after the setbacks in the Lok Sabha. Now, if the MVA wins, the India alliance led by the Congress will put the BJP and the Prime Minister Modi on the back foot in the center while giving a major boost to the national opposition parties. So the stakes are extremely high in this. To get a sense of what will determine the outcome of the elections after both alliances have campaigned so fiercely, I am delighted to welcome Sahil Joshi, Managing Editor of Aaj Tak and India Today TV and Chief of Aaj Tak Mumbai Bureau. So Sahil, welcome once again to Nothing But the Truth.
Well, thank you.
Now, Sahil, when we did an episode with you at the start of the assembly campaign, you still believe that MVA had an edge given its decisive performance in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections where it won 30 of the 48 seats. And if you recall, the BJP went down by 14 seats from 23 seats to 9 seats in the June Lok Sabha elections. So do you still maintain that the MVA has a better chance or has things changed since then?
I still think that MVA has a better chance for only a couple of reasons. Is basically when I said last time that the MVA has the age. I said it because that is one of the reasons why we saw that Maha government, the current Eknath Shinde, Devendra Fadnavis, Ajit Pawar government, started making announcing those schemes which normally BJP wouldn't have announced in any other state. Like direct transfer of 1,500 rupees to the women who earn whose family earn less than 2.5 lakh rupees. Basically, the poor families, women from the poor families. These kind of schemes they had used in states like Madhya Pradesh, but because now the situation in Maharashtra became complicated, they had no other option than to get down and announce such kind of schemes. It's always easy to win elections by using such kind of schemes. Even in 2009, what we saw that then UPA government declared a complete loan waiver to the farmers, and it came out to be a huge impact for UPA, especially in the rural areas. So, looking at that, even those kind of schemes, and after that, what has changed since the time we spoke last time is basically that the Mahayuti went on an advertising spree across Maharashtra. You take out any digital platform, the newspaper, or on the road. There is a huge portraits, the advertisements with respect to the Ladki Bahin scheme. Uh, the chief minister, both the deputy chief minister, toured the whole state, telling the benefits of the Ladki Bahin scheme. What it resulted into is that the registration of almost 2.15 crore women for this particular scheme, and the government transferred almost 7,000 rupees to the accounts of these 2.5 crore women and 2.15 crore almost women. And that I think has percolated well in Maharashtra. We toured the state, and wherever we went, this scheme has reached to the people. The women were talking about the scheme. The kind of I would say that I would not say the approval rating, but the kind of negativity in earlier 2 years was against Eknath Shinde, the way he broke the party, the way he became chief minister, the whole Surat and then Guwahati and then coming back to Maharashtra Kand. Things changed after that. People
But
at
do you
least
think this will
acknowledged.
make a decisive difference in the voting pattern, that women will move decisively towards it and that will begin to change the election results?
Well, interestingly, women are accepting that yes, the scheme has been announced by the chief minister. The women are also accepting that the money has been given by the chief minister, and they are also acknowledging the fact that yes, it is going to be helpful because especially to the poor families, 7,000 rupees if you get in your account in a particular month, it's a huge amount for them. So obviously there is an acknowledgement for that, but the pattern is different. Like if you talk to the urban poor. The women are very happy with the kind of amount is there in their account. But if you speak in the rural areas, the issue is with the inflation. They also talk about the inflation. They acknowledge that yes, the money has been received, but also they say that there is an inflation and this money is not enough. Then there is agrarian distress, specifically with respect to the MSP to the crops like soybean or cotton. The kind of money has been offered by the government or the NAFED is the soybean farmers say it's not enough. Very interestingly, a lot of farmers told us that in 2014, when the BJP government came to Maharashtra for the first time, that time the rate of the soybean per quintal was 4,150 or 4,100. That is the time when the BJP had announced that they will make it to 6,000 rupees. But even today, the soybean has been bought by the amount of 4,200 to 4,400 rupees. So nothing much has changed. And that anger was clearly seen in the voters. Now, as far as the Ladli Behra scheme, to answer your question, I will not make any guesses whether it will actually transform into the votes. I would only mention my observation that yes, people acknowledged that yes, that money has been received. But there is a difference between the kind of reactions we received in the rural areas and kind of reactions we received in the urban areas. Now, Maharashtra being a urban and semi-urban state, where 45% of the population stay in the urban and semi-urban areas, it makes a huge difference. If that acknowledgement turns into a vote, it nullifies the other factors. Will that happen is going to be the question. And why I would say that it will be, I mean, MVA has the age is basically because they already have a narrative set in their favor. Mahayuti had to counter it, and they used Ladli Behna to counter that particular narrative. Their workers had something to offer when they went for the campaigning. They could tell people that look, we brought this scheme. This is how it is helping you. We brought 3 free cylinders. We announced so many schemes. We announced so many perks, etc., etc. So they had something against what Mahavikas Aghadi's narrative, which is already spread on the ground. The third most important factor is that Mahayuti, because they had the ruling MLAs on their side, they could run their campaign quite well, specifically at the ground level, because this election, what I could see now, is not going to be fought by a statewide narrative. There will be a different narrative in the state, there will be a different narrative within the region, and there will be a different narrative in the assembly segments as well, where it will matter that who is the candidate, where it will matter who is fighting against that particular candidate. Is there going to be a rebel? And all these factors combined together will come out with a result. Also, what I could see is that the smaller parties like the VBA or MIM or MNS or the Third Front, all these parties are likely to make even if they make a smallest dent in the assembly segment, it is going to impact, because it is going to be a very closely fought election. The margins are going to come down drastically, whoever wins. So that is also another factor which I
wanted
could notice.
to drill you down to a little detail on this. We have three major battles, as one could see it, is the two factions of the Shiv Sena battling each other and trying to prove who's the real Shiv Sena. Then you have the NCP, again, two factions, Ajit Pawar and Sharad Pawar. They're again trying to prove who's the real, Nationalist Congress Party, as well as the big battle between the BJP and the Congress, which is on national in its dimensions. Now, let us take the first big battle. I mean, the fact that either the BJP has to get over, it is contesting about 150 seats or so with proxies, if you want to take it. They have to win a minimum of, say, 80 to 100 if it has to power the Mahayuti to victory again in the state. And the reverse is true in the Congress, though it's contesting much less, I think 105 or so. They have to win at least 50 to 60% of their votes for the MVA to win. So if you look at that battle, where is it showing up? And given the fact that BJP and Congress, I think, are directly in contest about 77 seats, where do you think this particular battle will go? Who has the edge in this?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, there are different battles. Like the Congress and BJP are going to fight almost in the 75 segments against each other. The Sena is going to fight in almost 47 segments against each other, and NCP versus NCP in 36 segments. In all these segments, all the parties, including Uddhav, NCP or Congress or BJP, they will have to get 50% strike rate in these constituencies, so that the rest of the constituencies where they have a fight against not their traditional rival, they may manage to keep it up with the vote transfer from their alliance partners. But more than that, very interesting scenario is that the national parties will have to perform more than 50% with a more than 50% strike rate. Like the BJP is contesting almost 148 seats plus four smaller alliance partners contesting on BJP's symbol. So in this 152 segments, the BJP if BJP wins only 50 with only 50% strike rate, it's not going to be enough, because then the responsibility lies on their alliance partners, and we don't know yet whether how much far he may be able to go, or Ajit Pawar how much far he will be able to go, because Ajit Pawar is contesting only 55 assembly segments. Similarly, when it comes to Maha Aghadi, Congress is fighting almost 105 seats, where again they will have to overperform the 50% strike rate if they have to reach at least to the 60, so that the rest of the 70 seats, the rest of the 80 seats can be won by alliance partners. So the national players will have to take a bigger role in this. They will have to perform better way to achieve to come to a point where they can form the government. Now, also the interesting fact is that my observation is that Sharad Pawar has managed his campaign quite well. Not the way the Congress had a bigger opportunity in Lok Sabha elections, but somewhere down the line they could not build up their campaign the way they could have, and that is what BJP's plus point. They overcame the difficulties they faced after Lok Sabha elections. The morale of the party workers were down. The RSS got on the road. They started building up, boosting the morale of the party workers. At the same time, the Haryana victory has given them a kind of a hope that yes, the things can be turned around, because BJP will have to fight a major battle in Vidarbha. If they manage to cross their 2019 mark, or at least achieve the 2019 mark, then at least the BJP can hope to reach up to 90 seats in Maharashtra. If that does not happen, then there will be an issue to form the Mahayuti government. So it has become more complicated. As a bunch, as a whole, Mahavikas Aghadi was looking better, is looking better. But if you go deep down on the assembly segment wise, then you can see some fractions within Mahavikas Aghadi and on the other side as well. But because the Mahayuti is in the government, they can manage that campaign well compared to Mahavikas Aghadi. So that is.
I gather when you say that, manage that, they have much more money on the ground than the rival parties do. I would think that is implicit that we've seen.
Center, the government is with them, all that stuff. So obviously it is at least +1 for them.
Sahil, in your analysis of the BJP, there were two factors that were there. One, of course, the fact that in the Lok Sabha they lost at least 14 seats. They were down to 9 seats as compared to what had happened in 2019. And second, they seem to have started employing the aggressive Hindutva sort of campaign that was there. Prime Minister Modi said, "Ek hai to saaf hai." Yogi Adityanath, the UP Chief Minister, talked of Batenga to Katenge slogan. So what is is that a sign of desperation that they have to resort to this kind of polarization, or is that part of their strategy and they're doing other things as well?
First let me put it in this way. I could see that the perception about Eknath Shinde changed a bit with the voter who was indifferent about the political scenario. Because they could see that the scheme is attached with Eknath Shinde's name because it is Mukhyamantri Ladki Bahin scheme. But nothing happened as such in Maharashtra which changed the perception about the BJP, because BJP faced the major anti-incumbency in Maharashtra during Lok Sabha elections, and even Prime Minister's campaigning did not help them to even regain their stature as number 2 party in Maharashtra, because the Congress became number 1 and they won almost the same seats that Uddhav Thackeray's party won. So nothing changed since then. So I can clearly say that. But what changed in their campaign is that they learned from their earlier mistakes. They did not attack Uddhav Thackeray or Sharad Pawar the way Prime Minister attacked Sharad Pawar last time by calling him Bhatakti Atma, and it didn't go down well in the voters. Similarly, in the beginning, Amit Shah started calling Sharad Pawar Bhrashtachariyon ke Sardar or Uddhav Thackeray Nakli Santan. All that stuff did not work in favor of the BJP. So this time, despite Sharad Pawar using a very harsh statements against the Prime Minister by calling him he only works for Gujarat, or playing up that narrative, the Prime Minister refrained from making any comment against Sharad Pawar. Even if he went to Pune, which is kind of a bastion of Sharad Pawar, because Baramati falls in the Pune district, but despite that, he didn't say a word about it. But to make it, to further their campaign of vote jihad, the term which was used by Devendra Fadnavis, Batenge to Katenge was added by Yogi Adityanath. But I think there was a realization within the BJP that Batenge to Katenge comes out to be a completely negative slogan. So they tried to convert it into Ek Hai to Safe Hai. And there was a lot of pushback from the allies as well, that if you use the same slogan again, it will be counter-effective the way it happened during Lok Sabha, and the narrative which the Congress was trying to set up, that the BJP is anti-minority, anti-Dalit, anti-Adivasi, will again kick in, and that will create another issue for them. So that is what they tried to clear up. But again, when Yogi Adityanath came back, he went back to the Batenge and Katenge. So in the whole thing, the actual slogan given by the Prime Minister of Ek Hai to Safe Hai was a little bit sidelined, and that is what BJP is a little bit worried about. Whether has it gone against them, because they tried to clearly change the perception and concentrated on one-on-one battles in the assembly segments. But when you make such kind of a statement, it becomes kind of a statewide position of the BJP, and that's where they had some certain issues. So on one hand, they tried to correct what they did wrong in the assembly in the Lok Sabha elections, but on the other hand, they tried to use the same kind of slogans which they used to use during the Lok Sabha elections about the Mangal Sutra and property baatenge or all that stuff. Secondly, they also tried to clear off certain mess with respect to the onion prices, but they couldn't do much with respect to the soybean prices because the soybean farmers are spread across almost 70 assembly segments, and that is what is going to be very interesting. The third the BJP had against them was Manoj Zarange Patil, the X factor with respect to the Maratha reservation, and especially in the Marathwada region of Maharashtra. And that is something which is still making BJP a little bit nervous because Zarange Patil they were hoping that the Zarange Patil will put up candidates for the assembly elections, which he did not. Eventually, he withdrew that he will not be putting up any kind of candidate. So there are certain plus points, corrections from the BJP side. On the other hand, there are certain minuses, or they were hoping to have some kind of a corrections which did not happen. So right now, they are totally dependent on this Ladki Bahin and the election management, which the BJP always does the best when they know that the narrative is not completely in favor of them. So that is the time when they concentrate on the assembly segments. There are most of the main leaders of the regional leaders like Chandrasekhar Bawankule, who is the state president, who is an OBC leader from Vidarbha, was confined to its constituency. Girish Majar, another big leader from the North Maharashtra, was again confined to his constituency. Similarly, we will find some other leaders as well from the BJP who were just confined to their constituencies during the elections because
Which
they wanted
actually
to
shows how tough the
yes,
battle is, Saila. I just want to bring in two developments that are there, right?
Yeah.
One is the fact that you had Ajit Pawar of the NCP, talking about this deal that was there supposedly at the businessman Adani's house, where, in 2019 to form a government before Uddhav Thackeray moved and formed the MVA. And there was this, counter by Sharad Pawar who said, well, they tried to buy us over in terms of saying that they would forgive the ED cases against us and all that. Now, how much damage is this happening to the BJP, one, and secondly, to the NCP, Ajit's side? I mean, what's the game plan behind Ajit, and how much damage is it doing to the BJP?
I think it is more than damaging Ajit Pawar, it becomes damaging to the BJP, because when Ajit Pawar in one of the interviews says that Adani was present as a mediator between BJP and NCP, and then when the BJP sends a clarification, like I remember Devendra Fadnavis making it very clear that they did have a meeting, but Adani wasn't there. And immediately after that, there is another interview by Ajit Pawar where he clarifies that he was misquoted, Adani wasn't there, or XYZ, that kind of a stuff. Because anything which connects to Adani, because Adani has anyway become a kind of an issue in Mumbai. What we could see that Shiv Sena, like Uddhav Thackeray and Rahul Gandhi, were completely in sync with respect to that particular issue, as far as the Dharavi redevelopment and other issues are concerned, and linking BJP with the Adani. And at the same time, Ajit Pawar comes up with a statement that yes, Adani was present, and then he said, no, he wasn't present. So, that whole association with a businessman, using a businessman to break down a government and bring in some other partners against whom they have already made very big allegations of corruption. That is clearly has damaged BJP's prospects in during Lok Sabha elections, and that creates an embarrassment for the BJP in assembly elections as well. So that is more of an embarrassment, not for Ajit Pawar, because his name has already been tarnished in all these cases. He's trying to revive it by by using this Ladli Behna scheme. He also was on the campaign for that. On the other hand, BJP continues to get damaged because of all these things. So that narrative was already there in place in Maharashtra, but they tried to overpower it by using this direct transfer schemes by giving 7,000 rupees to the women voters. But
even as we speak, Sahil, there is this controversy that is brewing over the General Secretary Vinod Tawde's involvement in say cash transfers or whatever it is that was alleged that was there. How serious is that going to have, coupled with whatever was happening? Is that going to be damaging for the BJP?
Of course, it's going to be damaging for the BJP, because whenever the truth will come out, because right now it is a complaint by the Bahujan Vikas Aghadi. They also held a press conference, but now the Election Commission has taken an FIR against Vinod Tawde for under sections of Representation of the People's Act. It creates a certain perception in the people. Even in 2000, even in Lok Sabha elections, in Baramati, there were a lot of complaints from the NCP SP side, and in Bid, there were many complaints of booth capturing from NCP SP side, and it did play in minds of people at that particular time. So it is.
So you think this could impact the voting tomorrow? I mean, when it happens.
I mean, it will impact on the voters who are sitting on the fence, because I constantly felt that a lot of people were still thinking about what exactly they should be doing. As last time I had mentioned that there are almost 20 to 30% of the floating voters in Maharashtra, and that is the reason why they were a little bit skeptical about what exactly they should choose. So they have multiple variables in front of them. A, Ladli Behna; B, the narrative against BJP and Mahayuti, especially the breaking away of the party; 3, the sympathy for Sharad Pawar and Uddhav Thackeray, even if it has diminished a bit from the Lok Sabha. Then 4, such kind of things whether they should actually think about it in a very negative way, or they should just avoid putting it aside, looking only at some kind of cash transfers and what they get from them. And the 5th most important partner, that who are their candidates, how well they know to the candidate of the candidate, how better is the candidate. All these 5 variables is actually going to decide the fate when the people will cast
Very
vote.
good point. I just want to, since we are talking on the Pawar battle between Ajit Pawar and Sharad Pawar, who is gaining the upper hand? Because they both are fighting quite substantial. I mean, at least Sharad Pawar is fighting close to 80 seats or so. Ajit Pawar, of course, less, as you'd mentioned, but they are in direct contest with each other, I think, for about 30 seats or so.
36
Who's
seats.
going to win that? So how many? 27, is it? What's the
36.
36 seats, right. So who's going to win that, and where is that tilting at the moment?
Well, it is very interesting. In the Lok Sabha, the battlegrounds were very clear, and people outrightly decided no, I mean, we have to stand by the old man, 84-year-old man who is touring the state and all that stuff. That the whole narrative of sympathy clearly worked in favor of Sharad Pawar. Now, what has changed this time is basically because most of the MLAs of NCP, at least 50% of them who are now with, of course, Ajit Pawar, have been getting elected election after the election. At least most of them are MLAs since last 5 terms, 4 to 5 terms. So they are deep rooted in their constituencies. They have the cooperative institutions in their hand. Also, there is not much of an anti-incumbency against them. Various surveys show that their approval ratings are almost 40 to 41%, which seems to be a very good, even after you are getting elected at 4th or 5th time. So, that is going to be a plus point for Ajit Pawar. On the other hand, this will be the first time we will know that how much actually Sharad Pawar as a factor played in their constituencies. Because till now, everyone used to say that Sharad Pawar manages his party by taking satraps in his party. The satraps themselves are very strong. They can get elected on themselves, and Sharad Pawar only manages those satraps. This is the time when we will know that even in those constituencies where these satraps get elected, how many of the people were voting for them who were actually supporting Sharad Pawar, and because of Sharad Pawar's personality, they were voting for these candidates. So that is going to be very crucial, and Pawar has chosen their candidates very well. He had not kept any yardstick. He had kept only one yardstick, whether the candidate is enough to fund himself, 1, and 2, whether there is a possibility of him getting elected on his own, supported by the narrative which is in kind of favor of Maha Vikas Aghadi. So these are the only 2 factors he considered while giving the tickets. That's why a lot of incoming happened in Sharad Pawar's party from BJP, who had already prepared those candidates against the NCP sitting MLA. So he literally got many of them in his party and put up against Ajit Pawar's candidates, especially the MLAs who have got elected. Now, very interestingly, that Sharad Pawar is fighting 87 seats. Out of that, only 36, only 40% of the seats are against Ajit Pawar. But the rest of the 60% seats, majority of the seats are against the BJP, and that is where Sharad Pawar is hoping that he will do better, because that is where the vote, the BJP will solely dependent on their own vote, whereas Sharad Pawar will get additional vote from Uddhav Thackeray, Sharad Pawar will get additional vote from Congress, and that is where he thinks that he's going to do much better. So that is going to be a very interesting fight, I could see.
Very good point. And now let's move to the other big battle, and you had referred to it, Shinde versus Uddhav Thackeray. And they're in direct contest, the UBT Shiv Sena is in direct contest with the Shiv Sena in 51 seats, I think. If I'm
47.
Right. 47, okay. So where is the balance tilting? Last time it was even Stevens in terms of the Lok Sabha seats. They almost match each other, and Shinde came up surprisingly well in terms of the performance. This time, are there going to be any deciding factors that will turn the balance either way?
So predominantly all these 47 seats are spread across where the Shiv Sena had already won. So both the Shiv Senas, especially Shiv Sena UBT, have very less battles against the BJP, because the BJP and Sena lines were already drawn. The BJP, Shiv Sena used to contest on 127 on the seats where the BJP never contested, and similarly, BJP never contested on the seats where the Shiv Sena had contested since last 25-30 years. So that's why the majority of the battle which Uddhav Thackeray will have, other than the 50% he's fighting against Eknath Shinde, few seats against the BJP, but again the majority seats against Ajit Pawar. So that is also going to be a really interesting battle. But as far as Sena versus Sena battles are concerned, I could clearly see that where there is in city like Mumbai, Uddhav Thackeray has a little bit of age, whereas in the Konkan, the candidates matters again. The candidates are so strong that they can manage their own elections, who are now with Eknath Shinde. In Thane is a bastion of Eknath Shinde, where he will ensure that he will get the maximum of the chunk. And predominantly what we have seen in last many years, that Shiv Sena gets 50% of its seats from Thane, Mumbai and Konkan region. And this time, either of the Senas will get equal share of these 50%. So the rest of the 50% seats, where there is going to be actual battle, where Shiv Sena will be dependent on Sharad Pawar's support, Eknath Shinde will be dependent on BJP or Ajit Pawar's support. And interestingly, what we are seeing, that both the Senas are getting good number of transfer of votes from their respective national partners. Like the Shiv Sena UBT, if there is no rebel of Congress, they will get maximum full transfer of the votes from the Congress. Similarly, Eknath Shinde, where there is no strong MNS candidate or no strong BJP rebel, they will get full transfer of the BJP votes on their side. So, it is likely that this fight is also going to be pretty interesting.
Okay, and we've got some final minutes before we wrap this up. You've really been in depth in terms of your analysis. Let's quickly take points that are there. One, the Muslim vote last time was very strongly towards UBT. Has that consolidation remained? And the fact that the BJP started playing the communal card, has that pushed the Muslims, even if they didn't want to vote, now moving towards MVA?
Well, interestingly, in the Muslim side, last time their battle was very clear, that there is Maha, and the other hand, there is Maha Vikas Aghadi. This time, they have the regional options. Like, say, we traveled in Malegaon, which is predominantly Muslim area, where more than 90% population, Malegaon Central Assembly segment, where in Lok Sabha elections, this assembly segment changed the scenario of the whole Lok Sabha seat, because it falls under in Dhule Lok Sabha seat, where in 5 assembly segments BJP was leading, but in Malegaon Central the Congress got 196,000 votes, whereas the BJP got only 4,000 votes, and Congress could manage to surpass BJP's lead and then get elected on that. But whereas this time, if you go and ask the people, they have multiple options. Then some people will choose MIM, some people will choose Samajwadi Party, some people will choose Congress. So where the Muslims are purely dominant and majority of the candidates are Muslims, there the Congress might not have age. But where the Muslims are only 20% or 30% or 40%, that is where Maha Vikas Aghadi, it seems, are going to be benefited. So this tactical voting we will still see in Lok Sabha elections as well. Similarly, there will be
Let's
split in the
take,
Dalit vote.
let's
Yeah.
take the, I'm coming to the Dalit vote. I wanted to clear the Maratha vote. You talked of it earlier. Who will get it? Because there is a Maratha versus OBC battle that is going. Where will this, who will win the Maratha battle? Who will win the OBC battle? And will that shake the results?
Okay, so Maratha battle, predominantly what I could see is that in Marathwada, the BJP still has a problem. But in Western Maharashtra, the BJP will manage to win the Maratha battle because they have this Maratha satraps on their side. Western Maharashtra is more of a family battle, and the extended families, most of the time, the family members fight against each other, because it's not enough. Only one family member cannot be part of the public life. The another family member who is aspiring to be a political leader will have to choose some other party, and most of the time, it is going to be opposition party of the person who is already in the who is already MLA. So that those battles are personality battles. There is it's hardly any.
No. So would you say that in Marathwada it will be the UBT faction and the MVA that will gain, not so much Shinde and the
Marathwada in Lok Sabha election was clearly on the side of Maha Agadi, right? So even this time, Marathwada is going to be a battleground for the BJP, whereas Shinde's candidates will have age in certain constituencies because, as I mentioned before, Shinde's image will maybe sell them through, and that is how I can see Marathwada at this point of time.
All right. And then if we move to the OBC factor, which is, a counter to the Marathwada rise on this one, there the BJP has been playing its cards, but again, reservations is an issue in terms of the various classes that they wanted to bring in. Where does that sort of now stand in terms of
well, the
who's going to get
OBC
that
is
section?
never a big chunk in Maharashtra. Unlike in UP where Yadavs make the majority of the chunk in UP or in Bihar, where only Yadav votes are enough to get you elected. Whereas in Maharashtra, it is just like Rajasthan, where everybody has 5 to 7%. The OBC segments have 5 to 7% population. Dhangars are also almost the similar population, and they create a scenario where in various segments they are important. So it's not something, it never happens that OBC as a block vote for one particular segment. But I could see that this time the BJP has tried to put one OBC against other, like say in Vidarbha, the Kunbis are on the side of Maha Agadi. In Lok Sabha elections, it could be seen. Now this time the BJP tried to do the Banjara politics because Banjara becomes the second largest OBC community, nomadic tribes community in Vidarbha. So there, they tried to pump them up by giving them MLC seat or putting up their candidates, talking about them. Prime Minister himself visiting the Pohra Devi, the religious place of the Banjara community. By that way they try to.
So you are saying that in that battle, the OBC battle, it's almost even Stevens. It will go either way, you are saying.
Yes,
in this one.
it will totally depend on how the Congress manages its caste combination, the way it happened to them. I don't know whether they deliberately did it, but it happened to them that Adivasi, Dalit, Muslim and Kunbis sell them through in
That's
Vidarbha.
the final question I wanted to ask you. Will this so-called DMK strategy that people talk about work in Congress' favor, including the Dalits, or would that be something that...
No, I think there will be an issue within the Dalit votes because VBA, they couldn't make a difference in Lok Sabha elections because that Samvidhan narrative was very strong. When it comes to assembly, that narrative doesn't work much. So VBA will pull up their own chunk. So they will do a little bit better than what they could do in Lok Sabha elections, which will result in cutting down the Congress votes. Now, we'll have to see whether how BJP manages to get their votes back. And it will totally depend on that. But whereas the Congress still has a majority chunk of the Dalit, Kunbi, Adivasi votes, but counter to that, the BJP has also tried to make another caste combination in those areas, and that is what is going to be important. So some places this batenge to katenge tone of the politics might work. So there, I think even the BJP is targeting constituency to constituency. They are only looking at those numbers who may vote for them. They are not even looking at the people who are not going to vote for them any which ways. So they are just concentrating on those segments at this point of time is what I can see because of the campaign, the way they have run the campaign.
And to sum up, now at the end of this analysis, who do you think is going to be ahead in the game? Where is the balance tilting at the moment? Final thoughts.
Well, I cannot predict it at this point of time because I don't want to predict it because this is the most complicated election I've ever seen. In Lok Sabha, the battle lines were very clear. So I could only say that the narrative is in favor of Maha Vikas Aghadi, but how well the election management of the Mahayuti works in favor, how well they manage to turn the happy women voters in their favor just because they have paid them. Will it turn into a vote the way it happened in Madhya Pradesh is going to decide what exactly is going to be the outcome.
Excellent points, Sahil. Thank you very much for your lucid
Thank you.
analysis. We'll end with what you said. MVA has the edge, but there are factors that could turn it in favor of Mahayuti as well. Finally balanced at this point. Thank you for being with me this week on Nothing But the Truth. I look forward to having you with me next week.